the minutes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And before I start, I just want to say, hi, Rob. Welcome to visiting the Green Committee.
Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Doing a little multitasking this morning, so I'm going to keep my video off, but
That's okay. That's
yes.
fine. So I just
Okay.
want to, good, okay. And if you have any questions, just usually we wait to the end. But if you have anything urgent, just indicate you want to ask a question.
Sure thing. Okay, thank you.
And good morning, Elise.
Good morning, guys.
Okay. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
A second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. E-tip. We had a meeting last week. I'm getting a little confused with this
Me too.
schedule because it's kind of not consistent. It was on a Friday. Anyway, we went over the draft, and my assumption is they're sending back a draft for us to look at. I can't remember.
Well, there are two things, as I understand it. First, there's the slide set, which seems to be getting close to final.
It's the slide deck.
The
Yes.
slide deck.
Yeah.
But then they have a written report, which we have not
Which
yet
we have
seen.
not seen.
But I suspect the slide deck will be pretty close to what we did see. So,
I think so.
yeah.
I mean, Steve, I know you couldn't be there, but Christina and Don, were you more positive about the slide deck this time?
Yes, they either took out or explained some of the more controversial, or shall I say, questionable areas.
Okay.
A certain amount of, what should I say? Not being as specific, maybe?
To Shelter Island?
No.
Or to specific?
To specific areas of concern, like such as the batteries.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I also went through the notes from that meeting. I believe it was May 2nd that I was unable to attend. And it did seem like there was a good dialogue with PSE&G, but that they needed to get back to us. I don't know if they have by now, but they needed to get back to us with some more hard data, focused data. And I guess Brian will know that the next time we meet.
Right. I think they were going to get back to the, well, to us, but also to the ETIP folks with that information. It would be good for us to follow up, I think, and make sure that's actually come through.
Yeah, I think Brian had the dialogue, but yes, I think that's going to be really important as we go forward in order to focus our efforts where it needs to be. And obviously we keep getting these reminders when the power goes out. So that's where we're headed. And I think my sense was that PSE&G wants to work with us on that, which is very good news.
Yeah, I had a question. I was sorry you weren't able to make the call, Steve, because I was curious. He said they didn't have granular outage data for Shelter Island. And I wanted to check in with you to see if they must have that information somehow. Or maybe it's just not in a form that's easy for them to get to us. I don't know, but I'm wondering.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they would like to find that data in a form that we're looking for, uh, but that could take some time, okay, and some work by their engineers. And while time is a factor, I think that, the working relationship is most important. And I think over the next perhaps month or several months, getting good data, or at least getting ballpark data, will be a big help to us.
Right, but we need that to be island specific, right? And not just the East End, or Suffolk County or whatever.
Well, we need it to be as specific as possible.
Mhm.
Okay, obviously, not just island-wide would help us, but
Yeah,
let's see what they come up with next.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if they don't collect it and store it in some fashion that's easy to access, maybe we could ask them to start doing that so we can have better information as we move forward with any planning. Because the island, well, we have our own vulnerabilities and it's a separate space. So I think there's enough of a rationale to say, hey, maybe it's worth putting some resources into just looking specifically at this and tracking what's happening. I don't know if they would agree.
Yeah, and I think having a good working relationship will enable us to fine tune that and
Yeah,
eventually get to the best information we can get. And yes, I would hope that it would be targeted enough, specific enough, so that we could target our efforts going forward. But, as I said, this could take some time, some months. There's an enormous amount of data out there.
Okay,
sure.
but I got the impression that Bill Folk was, comfortable meeting with us and
Right.
continuing
And
to
that's
do.
good. And that's good news. That's good news.
Yep. Um,
Good morning, Charity. You're looking very chipper for 6 a.m. Is it 6 a.m. where you are?
Yes.
Great.
um,
Oh, good morning, Meg. Hi, Meg.
Yes.
okay. Anything else about Egypt that you want to discuss this morning? Okay. Green Expo updates, don't really have anything. I'm reaching out to the past exhibitors. That's about it. And we're in the same spot. We talked about, last time we talked about if you had any suggestions for new exhibitors this year. So just send those along to me. Solar home tour. So we've talked about this in the past, but is this something we would really like to do this summer? So if we do, we need to think about it and start figuring out how to make it happen.
I thought we had determined it would be next year, couldn't be this
Did
year.
we? Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
That's my memory.
We did the solar tour.
Right,
I thought-
the tour of energy efficient solar powered homes.
Yeah. Oh no, I thought we were going to do that sometime this summer or in the
Oh, yeah?
fall.
Okay.
I'm sorry, because we had a conversation about whether it should happen before or after the Green Expo. And then I think there's concern, sorry for all the background noise, I'm walking home, concern about dates and timing and all of that. So, but I didn't think we'd come to a decision that we should push it off. I mean, if people think that makes more sense given everything else that's going on, that's okay, but it would be good to be clear about that.
Well, if we'd like to do it, you're correct. We did talk about whether it should be before or after the Green Expo. I don't know, you could, I mean, theoretically, you could do something at the Green Expo about it and then have it afterwards.
Have it the next week, like the last week of August.
So when's Labor Day?
Labor Day, I think, is early this
It's early.
year. It is the first day of September. So
23rd, and then
30th.
weekend.
it would be, yeah, you'd have, the 23rd is the Saturday. That's the Green Expo and the craft fair. And then that next week, I don't know, most people tend to be going back home to get ready for school if they have kids, because
Mhm.
school would start right after Labor Day on that Monday the 1st. But it could be a good week for it.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with Christina that, you know, if we can get this off the ground, it doesn't have to be elaborate the first year. And it could be the first in a series of annual solar house tours. Hopefully every year with more and more solar houses. But I would say this summer would be a good time to get that at least rolling. We can work out the details, and we have, what, 3 months before the Energy Expo anyway?
What you could do is have the Green Expo on Saturday and then maybe the house tour on the Sunday, the 24th. Then you can advertise for it on the Saturday, but have the event on the Sunday. That might work out better than trying to do it during the week sometime.
Right,
Everyone will be out, it'll be before they start going back into the city or wherever they're
Exactly.
coming from.
And many things are going on Labor Day weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to avoid that.
right, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and we can publicize the Solar House tour in tandem with the Energy Expo. So in advance, so the people know that, and we can
Right,
gauge to see if there's interest.
I like that idea, and also it's kind of fresh.
Right, and you have it kind of
Yeah.
clustered together, so it kind of carries the theme through the weekend.
It's the Green Weekend.
Green weekend.
oh, I love it. That's great.
I like that idea, that's a good
Um,
idea. And kind of make it easier to publicize it.
Yeah, I mean, we can be handing out little flyers at the Green Expo saying, hey, house tour tomorrow. Much easier than, come back next week.
Right.
You're like,
Right.
oh, you lost 90% of your audience.
And unlike the other house tour, no charge.
Exactly, exactly. No charge, only charging our batteries.
Right, I love it. Oh, that's great.
Actually, that'd be great, because at the expo, you could hand out a flyer with a map or have something that people could take, you know,
Right.
have a QR code or
Yeah.
something, or just
Yeah.
take a picture on their phone.
Bingo.
Yeah,
So you just need your list of people who are willing to have their house on display and make sure they're available August 24th.
Right.
And then pick your times and,
Okay,
In a 2-hour window, or does it need more? Right.
I think it depends on how many houses you have and how far apart they are.
yeah. I mean, it's a Sunday, so 6 a.m.
This might be like a 10 to 2 kind of thing.
well,
Exactly.
but not on a Sunday, because you're gonna cut out, well, I don't know that, like, a lot of people aren't necessarily going to church, but that's where I'm gonna be, so.
1 to 3, do it in the afternoon.
Yeah, 1 to 3, even 1 to 4, if people
1 to
are
4.
willing to
Yeah,
hang open that long. And that gives people lots of time to get around. They could come in like it whenever, you know.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, 1 to 4, that would work. Then you get out of the whole church, brunch, early morning, you know.
You know, by the way, I would only add that I believe they have a rather large solar system on the Presbyterian Church, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken.
we could definitely get the Presbyterian Church on the, I mean, I would help with that, because we're not really official members, but I sing in the choir, and we're pretty involved. So yeah, I can check that out with Steve.
The Presbyterian Church is an Earth Care congregation.
Yes.
So it's
yes,
actually part
that's
of their mission
Mhm.
to participate in things like this.
exactly.
And so
No,
I'm sure they'd be delighted.
I agree. Yeah, thanks, Verity.
So we have Sarah and Peter, Steve, Church possibly, and I forget who the other, was it Steve Neighbors?
David, yeah, Lichtenstein.
What's her name?
Lichtenstein.
Lichtenstein. And that's 4, if we wanted to look for one more. Don't want to have too many,
Um,
like maybe 5 at the most.
yeah, I'd say 5. If we could find them. The other thing is, do we want to keep it to just solar, or if somebody has an induction cook stove, maybe they could, I don't know, that might be complicating things. But I've been noticing on some of the solar tours that they've been saying any element of electrifying your house can sort of fall under this category. And it's important to know, like what you can do when, if you're going to try to go all electric, and that staging, phasing it in over time is an important thing to think about. So it's just a thought. I don't
Yes.
know. We might want to keep it simple and just keep it to solar installations for this first time, but it's a thought.
I would keep it simple, maybe
Yeah.
like just solar and heat pumps. If someone has a combo of both, that's cool, but otherwise I would focus more on the solar because we could also have a flyer with the different benefits to solar, also some of like the rebates and the incentives from the
Right.
energy industry. Could do like a little quick flyer on that.
And
So,
also,
I have a question about on the day of the solar tour, is it the homeowner who conducts the tours?
I would think
So
so.
in other words, each
Okay.
homeowner conducts the tour of their own home.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would think
Yes.
so.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so then I think an important criteria needs to be a homeowner who, is comfortable talking about it, is good at that, because that's going to affect how, how effective it is. If it's a homeowner who has solar panels but doesn't necessarily want to, take people up to see them or whatever, then that's,
no.
I mean, I guess I'm just saying that we need to.
That absolutely, that wouldn't work. You have to have, the way they've done the solar tours here is that the homeowner is present, takes people up on the roof if they want to go up there to look at it. And that's the whole point. And yes, talks about their experience in finding an installer and then the whole installation process and then dealing with the utility. Right, just all from soup to nuts, the process, so that what we need to do, I think, is demystify the process and help people understand the various steps. And we can have handouts that we don't even necessarily need to print. We can put it up on our website and put it, create a QR code so people could just click into it. And we can do that with a whole variety of materials. Maybe have a copy, I was thinking about this morning, have a copy at each house of the different handouts, just like maybe in a little folder or something, so they can see what's available, and then they could click on the QR codes to get it themselves.
Yes, I think, certainly Steve and Peter and Sarah could talk eloquently about their array and what they've done. So absolutely, the homeowner needs to be there and needs to be able to talk about it.
And the person that Don was just mentioning, Don, you had a name of someone.
Well, Steve's neighbor, David Lichtenstein, yes. And he has told me perhaps a couple of months ago, he's quite willing to talk about his installation. But I haven't spoken to him since.
Would he be an articulate sort of spokesman for what he did there?
I believe so, yes.
Maybe Don, you could just reach out.
I will reach out to him again, now that we have a date and yes.
See
Yep.
if you can
Steve, he's your neighbor?
Yes.
Do you know him?
Yes, I know him quite well.
Oh, what do you think?
Oh, I think he'd be a very capable spokesperson for what he has. He has, if I'm not incorrect, an all-electric home. It's a relatively recent construction. Okay, that building was built when we moved into our house. So it's, I don't know, directionally 13 years or so. And it was built as all electric. So they have electric heating in the floors, et cetera, that sort of thing. And of course, I would emphasize, and he would emphasize, that the house was built very tight, that shell efficiency was high on the priority list of the architect, who parenthetically happens to be Jill's brother. But in any case, it's a very tight house, very well designed in my experience. I would say it's all electric. So in that sense,
It's resistive electric, I believe, is Steve. So, right,
yeah,
it's very low efficiency in terms of, it's obviously what we term
right.
100% efficient, but that's
Yeah.
it, not above
Yeah,
that.
right. I was going to say that it's a fairly complex system. I know he's added, air conditioning in parts of the house and so
Right.
forth and so on. And I've been down in his basement at his breaker panels. It's a fairly complex, all electric house. But having said that, they did from the beginning put up a big solar array, and they built an addition, I want to say 3 years ago, a separate building, smaller, and they put another solar array on top of that. So yes, it's an interesting example. Mine obviously is a lot smaller, a lot less complex. Basically, solar, air source heat pump, and of course, shell efficiency. So
So it
those
sounds
are,
like it sounds like they're good, good sort of, they're different in a good way.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because
Yep.
a lot of people on the island, as you know, have much bigger houses. Mine is
Well,
1,300 square feet.
yeah, I would agree with Charity. I was just thinking the same thing that it would be great to have like very different examples so people can learn different things from each one and we can bill it that way. If you're in, that maybe a brief description of the characteristics of each house because,
Yes.
and what's available, what you can learn when you go there. I think it's very exciting to have an example of a house like that. And equally exciting to have one like yours, Steve, and one like Sarah's and Peter's. And then, the institution, the church can do this. And then I would add in the mix, we should ask Bridge Hunt because he is such a passionate advocate for solar and he is so incredibly knowledgeable and can help people understand how they can trace. He's very, very big on energy efficiency. And so he has these little trackers on his electrical box to see, so he can monitor everything in his house. It's just amazing. So, like a really wonderful mix of different approaches, different experiences, different houses, and what you can do with them.
Be nice to get, could put it, we want you, notice, but be nice to get a bigger house, like so we have a real sort of cross section of types of homes. Just to get one more, to get a fifth house, that's just bigger and not South Fork big, but anyway, just to get a real mix.
Does the town have any list of those with solar that you know of?
We have a list of anybody who's applied for a permit, like a building permit to put up solar.
Okay.
So I could get that list, but it would depend. I mean, how many years do you want me to go back? How recent or how new or old do you want the systems? It depends on,
Yeah, I mean, you can't have an approved solar system without a permit from PSE&G for sure. But I
And-
think
right.
the town is also in that loop as well. If you want to interface with the grid, you got to have PS's involvement and permission. And I think that includes the town as well.
Yeah, you need a building permit to put that structure on your roof, because they wanna make sure that the roof can handle it, there's a whole bunch of safety things there. So I could definitely look at a report and see how many permits we've issued.
I mean, well, don't want to cause work for you. Would they give it to one of us or does it?
Yeah, I actually might already have it on my computer.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, when I was working on the comp plan, I have foiled every permit issued by the building department in the last decade. So I believe I have all of that sorted by permit type on my computer, so it may not be a big lift for me.
Oh, good.
So let me check.
Oh,
Yeah, if it's-
that,
if it's-
that would be perfect to have it for the last decade, because I know, like, we put ours up in DC on 2012, so that was just 12 years ago. So I think, if you have the last decade's data, that would be, sounds good to go with.
But yeah, again, if it's easy for you, but if it's not, let us know.
I will. I mean, I have all of it, and I pre-sorted it by permit type, so it might be a very easy find. So I'll just have to check and see if I can find the file. It's been a little while since I've looked at
We're
it.
fine if,
Yeah, Mary Ellen can run it out of
Yeah.
Municipal, it's not. a problem.
some legwork. It'd be good to get another,
Yeah, actually, my son on the island does have solar, but he bought the house with it already installed and he doesn't really know the details of it. I could investigate that too.
okay. Okay, this sounds good. A plan. Okay, so maybe the next step is Christina, or do you want to talk to the Presbyterian Church, or Charity, do you want to talk, because you just talked to the church recently about the Perfect Earth event, to see if, which one of you would want to talk to the church about seeing if they would want to be involved with this?
I mean, I'm happy to, whatever, Charity, I
Yeah,
don't know if you've
I
got,
think we should
you know.
figure out one person to contact, to sort of formally invite all the church would be one of the tours, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to me that, and Christina, were you saying that you would actually conduct the tour?
No, I
Oh.
could be there to help for sure. I suspect Marilyn and some other people who've been really involved in pushing through their green commitment would want to be in charge of it. But I'm
Yeah.
happy to help with whatever and,
Yeah,
help make it
yeah.
happen.
I guess I was just thinking, like, in terms of logistics, it seems to me that there should be one of us, I hope it's Christina, who approaches each of these once we've decided which homes we want. That includes you, Steve, and says, August 24th is the day. Can you do this?
Uh-huh.
This is the support we'll give you, so that we can sort of, so that it can be more organized. And at that point, we can, approach the church and say, would you like to be involved in this?
Right. I mean, I'd be happy to do that. In Charity, I would run any of my outreach email by you to make sure I'm not missing something.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't, yeah.
I believe Peter Veilberg knows the church installation very well. So
I'm sure he does. Yeah. That's a
But
really
he's
good
got to be
point.
at his house.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we'll figure it out. But I will be up on the island Monday night. So I'm happy to, can
Okay.
go see people in person if need be and just chat with them.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. So,
No, I'm not suggesting that the two of you contact, just someone, between the two of you decide who wants to contact
sure.
the
Sure.
church. So Christina, you're going to contact the church and we'll
Well,
wait.
I think what Charity was suggesting is that one person be in touch, in charge of outreach, and I would be willing to do that, and I will check in with you guys and make sure that whatever the outreach sounds like is complete and to everybody's liking, and then I'll just organize it. I'll just be in touch with people. And then we'll follow up and make sure that everybody has what they need, and just the whole scheduling of everything. So
Okay.
happy to do that.
if you want to do that, that's fine, that's perfect. And then if Meg comes up with a couple of other candidates, you could reach out to them and see who's willing or interested in doing it, and then
Sure.
we'll just.
And we want a total of 5, did we say?
I think 5. I don't think you really want more than that, because then it takes time to travel. The good
Right.
thing is,
And
yeah. I know the house tour, it's like you spend a lot of time going.
Yeah, if you figure a half hour at each house and a half hour for travel time, that's the full 3 hours.
Yeah,
And I
So-
think I would just say that part of the process will be a dry run, which I'd be happy to participate in, where we go to each of the houses and walk through with the homeowner and sort of make sure that this is going to be a good example and will work out the wrinkles.
yep. There'll be a
Not to
dress
men-
rehearsal.
Yeah, not to mention make sure there are no vicious dogs.
And the other house
Or
tour
cats, or cats, yeah.
has cookies and iced tea.
Yeah,
If homeowners wanna have snacks, they can.
we'll figure out that portion, that part, the carrot.
It
good
could be
coffee.
literal carrots.
oh, that's very funny. Yeah. Those snacks are always free.
I'm happy to bake cookies for every single house.
Oh,
Oh, awesome.
Perfect.
Exactly, accepted.
Okay, but good, I think this is great, we have something that we did this year. Okay, so home tour, community solar, I'm just gonna put, I think to the side right now, although, I know that Ben had suggested, a company come to Green Expo, which I think was the company that suggested earlier.
I think so. They're out of Brookhaven, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
I guess the only thing that when we had a discussion with Lynn was that at the time they were offering, I forget what the percent was, it was like
Um,
5?
I think
It was low.
yeah, I
No.
think they
Wow.
were originally
Okay.
offering 5%.
It was 5%.
Yeah, originally,
Which-
and
which
that
was-
was not the market. The market was already 10%. If you know, at least that's what I heard from Lynn.
So
Yeah,
my
of course.
suggestion,
Maybe this would encourage them to have a special deal for the Green Expo.
well, I mean, 2 things. One is if we're gonna invite somebody, we need to reach out to other people. Because we can't just invite one vendor.
Right.
So if we're gonna have something like that, we have to reach out to others, whether they come or not, but we have to at least make that effort. And then the other thing is I suggested to Ben that he look at Lynn's, look at the presentation that Lynn did, because he wasn't here that day,
Right.
just so he gets an idea of why we may be able to do better.
Right.
Okay. And then again, at some point after we've done the ETIP presentations to the town board, we will then invite Lynn to come and do a presentation, which she knows about. This is not on the,
Oh, hey, sorry. Rob
ahead.
has his hand up.
Yeah.
what's that?
Rob.
Rob has
Oh,
his
Rob,
hand
go
up.
ahead, Rob. Yep.
Thank you. I'm not sure what all the protocols are, but yeah, so kind of thinking about the solar thing and then kind of going back to the short conversation on the PSE&G and getting data from PSE&G on outages. I was just wondering, part of that conversation with PSE&G, we may want to see, does PSE&G have the ability through the smart meters and everything to know the solar power that's being generated at each one of these locations? It can be de-identified, whatever, but it'd be interesting, I think, if we could capture total solar power generation on Shelter Island, and then, just measure that over time. So
Yeah,
sort of as a metric.
Yeah, the short answer, Rob, is yes. I mean, that's at the heart of what net metering is. Power flowing in both directions. The actual mechanics of that, we'd have to work through. Uh, I myself have a monitoring system for my own PV system that enables me to see how much I'm generating net. But different people over time may be on different rates as well. So, the short answer is yes, but we need to, explore that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, it was just an idea that I just wanted to throw out there.
Absolutely.
It's a
Yep.
great
Would,
idea. It would be a
I don't know
terrific
enough about this to know, would the homeowners have data would each of the homeowners have that data for their own system? In other words, on the tour, is that something that we could ask homeowners to speak
Yeah.
to?
They
I
should.
would, they should.
Yeah, they should, but it will depend upon the system that was installed and how old it was and what the capability of the monitoring system is. I mean, I've got mine right on my phone. I can tell you how much how much electricity my house used this year or last year, the year before. But that's why I was saying before, it will depend upon the capability of each monitoring system, and they're not all the same.
Yeah, but Steve, I do think, I mean, everybody I know who's got solar panels, including our panels on the church here in Washington, I mean, I just accessed the system and downloaded a bunch of data over a period of years because we have to report to the city now on our decarbonization progress. Anyway, it's like everybody I know has a system that will tell them what their solar production is. So I would think it would be very unusual if somebody didn't have that. And I think too, Charity, people who put up solar are really interested to know that information and track it. So I think we can be fairly confident that we've had that. Steve is absolutely right. They're all different systems, but I think you still get the same information.
Yeah, and I guess so then I'd ask Rob, I think it's a great suggestion. Does that address, because one of the things, with PSE&G, we're building this relationship. We don't get data quickly from them. I'm not confident that we would have that data in time, for the solar tour. But is it, if the homeowners provided it, would that be the kind of data that you're thinking of?
Well, in the aviation world that I work in, we really try to minimize the requests we make for data. It gets quite expensive. It can be intrusive. So I thought about PSE&G, if they have that ability through their systems to capture that, that would be an unidentified way without asking a homeowner to have to do an extra chore. But if that's not a possibility, then we can look at, what data do these
I
systems
think it
have?
is a possibility, but it's
Yeah.
just maybe not by August 24th.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's just more of a long-term. I think this is more of a long-term metric of,
Right.
What impact is solar having at that macro level. The individual homeowners, I think, can do a great job, and it'd be great if some of them could wave around their really low electric bills and say, "Hey, this could be you too." But having a macro number that the island can use as a metric, and to measure, ultimately, what's the total power consumption on the island? Okay, how much of that is solar? Is it 2%, 5%, 10%? What's our goal? So anyway.
Yeah, that's part of the information we've been looking to get from them. And I have to tell you that, having had a career in electric power, I can say that, the energy we deliver at the speed of light. Everything else takes time.
Yes.
Okay, but yes, to it goes back to the original discussion about PSE&G and having a more granular idea about the island itself.
Can we put in a request immediately to folks, what's his name again?
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, we should.
Bill Folk?
yeah, Bill. Put it in immediately and
I'll ask
with,
him.
Yeah. Could I make a suggestion? That we go to them. I totally agree. And I think it would be very difficult for us to collect information from each individual solar owner. I wasn't trying to respond to Rob's suggestion earlier. So I do think it makes a lot more sense to try to get it from PSEG. But I think we should go to them with a short list of the data points that we really want to track over time, this being one of them. So overall, energy demand, and then the outages issue, and then how much of the production is from renewables, and
Yeah,
maybe we could just make it solar. But if there's anything else that we need to add to that list, we should think about it now so we don't keep peppering them with requests. So I think it's easier for them to generate, to make a decision if we.
Yeah, some time ago, I had given to Brian a list of information that I thought would help, mostly about outages and about load growth. And I think that email I sent to Brian should be floating around somewhere, but we can add to that list. And that's what I'm saying. An ongoing dialogue with PSE&G will give us that kind of information. But, we've already asked them for some information, and maybe I'll try to dig up that email that I had sent Brian, it was maybe a couple of months back, and try to circulate it to everyone, and then we can add to that.
Okay, so that's your homework, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just,
Email me the list of questions that you want me to reach out to him with, maybe prioritize them if possible, so I can send him the most important ones, because it might be easier to get answers on some things than it is other things, and I'd like him to know, like, these are our big asks, and then if you have information on these other things, please send it our way.
Okay,
He
and I'm happy, as I said in the past, I'm happy to work with you on that, Meg, on, with PSE&G. So I'll try to dig up that original email and get it to you as soon as possible.
That'd be great, thank you.
okay,
He usually responds pretty well to me, so I usually get a good response.
good. Okay,
One other thought on this, when we make the request, I think if we explain what we're trying, they know what we're trying to do, I think, but they're also busy. So I think if we frame it as, long-term decarbonization of the island, and in order to do that, we need this information. So I don't want them to cherry pick which data they're going to give us too, if we
No, but-
actually need it all.
Yeah, I would say decarbonization, of course, is a priority, but let's also include resilience as well, resilience and reliability. So that's part of it. That's part of the information we're trying to get.
Right?
Also, part of it is to help promote homeowners putting solar installations on their house. So, that's something that I think PSE&G would probably support as well. So, you wanna kind of find.
Maybe, because that cuts into their business. I mean, they're in the business of selling power. So they are under state mandates to decarbonize, but there's a lot of resistance within the sector to doing that. So,
Well,
it's not straightforward.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but that's an issue that goes back actually many decades. I remember sitting in a meeting back in the 1980s with a bunch of engineers trying to explain what we were trying to do with solar energy and energy conservation. And one of them raised his hand and said, wait a minute, let me make sure I understand you. You want to pay our customers to use less of our product? So, this has been a long time issue, but it is an important issue, but there's an important difference between energy and power as well. and the growth of the grid depends on the growth of power demand. Okay, and that's very expensive, and that they will be very interested in management with demand side management. Energy consumption, that's more on the homeowner side. And yes, solar could be a big part of that in the future. But, utilities are acutely aware of load growth right now, and particularly going forward with all these IT centers they're talking about building and adding electric cars by the millions, literally. Those are two separate issues, energy and power. But we can have that discussion another time.
Okay, anything else on this topic? We have an exec session coming up. One thing that's not on the agenda, and Charity, when you're, we have been talking with the Perfect Earth folks about replicating an event on Shutter Island, which is going to be in July, I think July 17th.
July 17th.
July 17th at the Presbyterian Church. And Charity and I and Doug Sherrod and Peter Grant are meeting with Tim Wheeler tomorrow morning on Zoom to sort of get an idea of what they're thinking. The four of us on the Shutter Island side met, Zoomed a week or two ago, and sort of thought about how we see the event as sort of at least I see it as sort of sustainable landscape promotion. Anyway, we want to hear from Tim Wheeler to see how they view it. And we also discussed having the event that was in the Springs in March, had obviously South Fork people, a landscape designer, somebody from the Bridgehampton Nature Center, and Edwina Von Gaal, who's the head of Perfect Earth Project, and then Tim Wheeler, who works with landscapes and homeowners. Anyway, our thought was that we'd have some people from Shutter Island on this panel. People that we know.
That's July 17th.
July 17th at 5 o'clock, I think, 5 or 5:30.
Tim, did you talk to Abby Lawless yet?
No, I haven't, because I wanted to wait until we talk to Tim Wheeler tomorrow. Just get
Okay.
a sense of how they're viewing this so that there's not a disconnect.
Okay, well, she asked me what was going on with it because I'm friends with her mom, and I told her, I said, has Tim talked to you? And she said no. And I was like, all right. So then I told her what it was about and that we're getting it organized. But the
Okay.
good news is that she is available that day if we,
Okay, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I was just waiting to talk to Tim. I mean, actually, I have been in touch with her this past week about just updated the Conservation Advisory.
Yeah, I know what happened
Plant
was
list.
it was one of those awkward situations where her mom said, oh, Abby, Charity wants to talk to you about something. And I was like, well, have you talked to Tim? And she said, yeah, you have talked to Tim. And I guess,
Okay.
and I said, oh, well, then you know that, it's like, oh, no.
Sorry.
So anyway, no, it's not your fault. It's,
know.
it's just the way life is. But anyway, she knows she'd like to participate and she's available.
Okay, well, I think that would be great. So
Yeah.
all for that. Okay. Okay, it's 10 of 10. We do have an executive session coming up. Or does anybody have anything else they in the committee want to bring up? And then I'll ask our guests if they have any questions.
We could talk about this at the next meeting, but we should talk about the energy audit information that I got from Lynn Arthur, which was super interesting. And I don't know if that needs to be added to the list of asks for PSE&G, but it turns out that they have some legal obligation to make sure that energy audits are available to Shelter Island homeowners, and it has been difficult to organize those or to get those. for homeowners. And so it's just something that we need more support from them on. And it was very interesting to learn from Lynn that, that this is actually something that they have an obligation to do. It's not just, sort of a nice thing for them to do. They are obliged to do it, and Shelter Island homeowners are entitled to, I believe, a free or low cost energy audit.
So did we bring this up when we were talking to Bill? I don't,
Yeah, and he was surprised that, but I think that was more for the solar, where you could put all your information into the program and it would find a solar installer and like help you get guidance in that direction. That there was nobody willing to come out here. He was surprised by that. But I don't know that we asked him about the energy audits.
okay.
I
So-
thought we did specifically ask about the energy audits. I mean, I could go back and look at it again, but I thought that we had asked about that we had expressed that several of us had had difficulty getting an energy audit or getting, the attention of a contractor. And I thought that he said something to the effect of, I will look into that.
Yeah, I was probably confused on the conversation. I was linking it to solar in my mind and you were probably talking about the audits.
I think Charity's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Charity's correct. That is,
Yeah,
that is one of the things he was going to look into. So
Yeah.
it'd be great to follow up on that too.
Yeah, and just as a point information as we go forward, this discussion about energy audits, it gets a little murky because it can get a little murky because the company that's doing the energy audit may also be providing energy conservation services or other energy related services. And
Right.
so they may end up making recommendations to the homeowner to incur certain expenses. It's not like it was 40 years ago or 45 years ago in the business where you got only an energy audit and that was it, and then you went from there. It's now gets a little murkier, but as I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
and I
everyone
think,
aware
Steve,
of that.
we did talk about that, and I think that was one of the thoughts was that we would try to organize some sort of a bulk activity on Shelter Island so that a lot of people get these energy audits. And part of the beauty of doing that, aside from getting the attention of contractors who it seems to be difficult to get their attention to come to do these, is that it gives us an opportunity to explain to all the homeowners who participate in this that, there is this that what you're looking for is data that you can evaluate and then apply to possible solutions that could be provided by these contractors.
Yeah, of course, that puts the onus on the homeowner to make those decisions.
Those
Uh,
decisions have to be the decision of the homeowner.
Yeah, I understand. It's just that, there are technical aspects to those decisions, and we may
Well-
need to provide some advice in between there. I'm just
Okay.
saying, as we
Yeah.
go forward,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
a sticky, it's a
But
sticky
the idea
wicket.
is for us to help.
Yes,
So.
to facilitate, sure.
So why don't we think about this, and maybe it could even be something we attach to the Green Expo if we have to wait that long, to do sort of promote it and do some sort of thing where people can sign up for at the expo for like a group audits on the island.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm happy to continue leading that, charge.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, anybody else have anything
Just-
new?
Well, just a thought about the Green Expo. I mean, if do we have a table on energy efficiency and with different materials? Because it seems like clearly what we need to do is help educate people about
We-
different options. So,
Well, we have time to think about that, and we should think about that because, last year, John Reeves had worked on a whole chart to show people and explain to people about things I think it was about the Green Committee specifically. But anyway, we can certainly customize a table to address all these issues at the expo.
The Green Options
Sounds
Committee
good.
table.
Yep. And then we can highlight that in the ad and in the information that we send out, the publicity. Okay, anybody have anything else? Otherwise, Rob, do you have any other questions?
Sorry. No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. And have you worked out being able to Zoom or not? It's okay.
I'm awaiting a response, but I'm here, so.
Okay, all right. We haven't seen the hook come in and grab you out of the frame yet. Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
And Elise is gone. Elise, are you gone?
Yeah, she's gone.
Okay, you're gone. Okay. All righty. I now make a motion to end the public portion of the meeting and go into executive session. Everybody second?
Second.
Second.